Everybody, welcome. It is Friar Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. I am Darren Smith. That is Marty Caswell. It is the second day of the Padres season. We are recording on a Friday morning. Padres lost their home opener with Nick Pivetta on the mound. The sky, it is falling. No, it probably isn't, but it might, depending on what it is that happens with Michael King in the second game of the baseball season. Thank you for supporting Friar Territory. Of course, you can find it on YouTube. Please do subscribe. Please do like this, review this. Go and find it wherever you find your podcast. If you prefer audio only, we're going to be here all baseball season long. Marty, you were at Petco Park yesterday, 45,000 plus people, a record crowd. How deflating was it when 4 runs crossed the plate in the first inning against one of the best pitchers that we've seen in a generation, and the Padres just really couldn't muster up much offense at all against Tarik Skubal? Really, story of the game kind of told in the first half inning, top of the first at Petco Park, wasn't it?
Yes, Darren. There hasn't really been too many times at Petco Park in the recent where the game felt over in the first inning, but the game felt over in the first inning. It was deflated. I mean, opening day, 45,000. It was majestic, so much fun, so loud, but you have Skubal going. Then you saw, Bogaerts got on base, but it felt over in the first inning. And I think the players felt it. They knew what they were up against. I know Tatis had a funny line at the workout when he said, what's the approach against Skubal? And he said, pray. Well, praying for the Padres, for the Friars, did not work. So yesterday was pretty lopsided. It was stunning, a little bit stunning to watch Pivetta get hit the way he did yesterday. It was over early.
And I'm not even sure, getting hit, he had 3 walks in the first inning, and all 3 of those free passes came around the score. So I think it was chalked up to a little bit of nerves, maybe a little bit of jitters. Maybe for me, this is the kind of thing that you think about when you're deciding who your opening day starter is going to be, but neither here nor there. It's done, and it's on to game number 2. We got a lot that we can talk about. I don't think that by now you're probably not interested in a post-game show kind of reaction to game number 1. But it is game 1, and there's only, 7 games, I think, on Friday, including the Padres and the Detroit Tigers game number 2, with a pretty tasty pitching matchup as well with Michael King and
Framber
Valdez. So, yeah, pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty solid Friday night. Where do you want to start, Marty? Do you want to start with the lineup? I mean, I suppose we can talk about the lineup, which, against Tarik Skubal, who's a dominant left-hander,
yes,
2-time Cy Young Award winner. It was Tatis, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill in the cleanup spot.
He struck out 3 times.
He was really put into a torture chamber by Skubal's changeup. Miguel Andujar, who hit 3 home runs in spring training, he batted 5th. Ben Sheets, another lefty, was in there. I don't know, not Nick Castellanos, interesting. Ramon Laureano batted 7th. Freddie Fermin and Jake Cronenworth batted 9th. 3 lefties against Tarik Skubal. I don't know. Any thoughts on that, even if it's with the benefit of hindsight?
Not too much, and I know that of course the typical overreaction. Craig Stammen took a lot of heat from upset Padres fans over his lineup, as dominant as Skubal was. And by the way, Xander Bogaerts said that wasn't even close to being the best version of Skubal that they saw yesterday, which is something to think about. Right? I don't know that it really mattered what Stammen did with his lineup. They looked lost or overmatched against Skubal.
Oh, was it the best lineup? I mean, do you see any room there? Sheets and Castellanos? Just toss
you
it
could.
out. I mean, do you see any room for? I know you don't want to get trapped late into a game. Should eventually Tarik Skubal have to come out of the game,
right?
That you end up with a bunch of righties and then you have to swap around. And I mean, but do you see any room against a pitcher like that where you'd go, even with the benefit of hindsight, which we can all admit, you go, yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that decision.
You could have tinkered. You could have moved things, maneuvered the lineup, of course, but a better matchup. And I think that's one thing that Stammen said early in pregame that he would probably be doing in the future when that lineup did come out and he addressed, oh, hey, Tatis at the front, that they expect to do some tinkering based on the matchups and who they're facing. So yes, there was absolutely, you could have done some more. But yesterday, Darren, I really don't know that it mattered. I don't think the Padres lost to the Tigers because of their lineup. I think it's more about Pivetta's struggles and lack of command in that first inning. That game was over early, and we haven't said that too often in recent years.
100%. I mean, when you're thinking that you have to score 5 runs in a game started by the 2-time American League Cy Young Award winner.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it tells you all you need to know heading into the bottom of the first. You mentioned Tatis batting leadoff, which has certainly been a subject on Friar territory and a lot of other spaces as well. Craig Stammen said before the game when he was asked about some of his lineup decisions, he said something to the effect of, well, we tried some other things. We tried some other things during spring training. And ultimately, Marty, I guess they've tried these other things, whether it was with or without Fernando Tatis Jr. while he was away at the World Baseball Classic or while he was with the Padres in Peoria, Arizona. They've tried some other things. Do you think it is fair or unfair to say that they've tried these other things and these other things weren't as appealing as Fernando Tatis Jr. batting leadoff for the Padres?
Yes. Was that the answer you're looking for? Yes, it's just that simple. Again, let's go back to what Stammen said day one on the qualities he was looking for in his leadoff hitter, right? Someone dynamic, athletic, sets the tone, puts fear in the opposing pitcher, sends a message with that first at bat. There's one and a half players on that team, I think, that fit that role. And I know that Bogaerts has had the opportunities led off in the past. He talked about that last night. There's 2 players. It's Jackson Merrill and it's Fernando Tatis. And Stammen was asked yesterday in pregame, why again Tatis? Well, it's because of what he did last season and also what he did for the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic. He was dynamic. He was electric. So we're back to the same. It's the same. I feel like time stood still and that we spent all this time talking about who the Padres leadoff hitter should be, when I just think that in the back of their minds, there was really only one logical choice. Now, might we see Xander Bogaerts or perhaps, Jake Cronenworth leading off tonight? Sure, maybe you'll mix things up a little bit, but it wouldn't surprise me, Darren, that when this season ends, that Tatis will have led off for the Padres more than anybody else on this team.
Yeah, well, I would be surprised if it's Cronenworth just because it's lefty.
Right, true.
Again, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that was said post-game is that there's going to be different lineups.
Yes.
So how much different will it look from one really good pitcher who's a left-hander to a second really good pitcher who's a left-hander? I guess we'll stay tuned and we'll find out a little bit past 7 o'clock on Friday night. You talked a little bit about, I do think that the story of the game was Pivetta and the hole that you have to climb out from when you're heading into the bottom of the first inning and it's 4-0. Xander Bogaerts yesterday was asked a little bit about, what it looked like there standing at the shortstop position. He gets a great view of the starting pitchers, of all the pitchers. And Xander Bogaerts was asked for some thoughts just on Nick Pivetta's struggles on opening day.
161 more to play.
We obviously wanted to start 1-0, but it just got out of hand a little early, and Nick didn't pitch the way he normally pitches. I don't know, he might not have the feel for his pitches because he wasn't close to being as sharp as he normally is, and that kind of sucked a little bit for him, because he normally commands all of his pitches pretty well, but today he couldn't go to anyone, any one of his pitches. They were all just very unlike him, but he'll bounce back. I mean, he's Nick.
He had nothing. Players knew it. No,
our opening day starter in the top of the first inning kind of wrote the story. I don't know. I mean, this isn't exactly what Xander Bogaerts is saying, Marty, but I will ask you. Nick Pivetta is the opening day starter for the Padres. It's his second season. In 2025, he was incredible. He finished 6th in the Cy Young Award balloting in the National League. He set career highs for himself in wins, ERA, innings pitched, WHIP, other categories as well. Some of the peripheral numbers were really, really good. This is a guy who arrived in San Diego as a pitcher who had a 4+ ERA in his career. What do you make of Nick Pivetta? Do you think he can do what he did in 2025? Or do you think what we're going to see here is going to be closer to what his career numbers have been?
Are you saying was last season just an outlier? Like we already know who Nick Pivetta was. Perhaps he benefited year one, National League West, different new opponents, new batters, Ruben Niebla, the Petco Park factor, and maybe we see Nick Pivetta coming back down to earth, perhaps?
I'm just.
Do you think he's
curious? Somebody who's around it as much as you are, Marty. If you think that we're going to see something closer to the version of 2025 Nick Pivetta, or if we're going to see, Nick Pivetta, who's been a good pitcher in his career,
something in between,
mostly pitched to an ERA of about 4. This is like almost 2 runs less what he did in 2025. So what Nick Pivetta are you expecting in 2026?
I don't think, Nick Pivetta is not as bad as he showed yesterday. He's just not. But I will tell you this. For me, it's more about the concern we had about Nick Pivetta when he missed a start in spring training because of arm fatigue. And all those things that you mentioned, a high and everything else, games, innings pitched, I just wonder if perhaps there's maybe there's more reason for concern around Nick Pivetta than we previously thought, which makes the opening day start a little bit interesting.
It does, and it also, it does put. I mean, is there a lot of pressure on Michael King in the second game of the
season?
Probably
yes.
not. Probably
yes.
not, if we're being honest. Probably is. It's probably pretty stupid for us to say that sort of thing.
No, Darren. I'm not saying the.
I do think, given the state of the starting pitching, Marty, which we'll talk about later because Joe Musgrove spoke and there's some clarity about Yu Darvish.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, given the state, we talked about this either this week or last week, that there was a little bit of pressure on the guys at the top of the rotation to not have these kind of outings because of the uncertainty given what's at the end of the rotation.
Yes, I completely agree. Did you say, is there pressure on Michael King? Like, should Padres fans panic in the organization if they go 0-3 and they have some early rough starts by Pivetta, King, and Vasquez? No, not because of that. Because I think Michael King is one of the best pitchers in baseball when he is healthy. But the concern is the lack of depth. The two guys that you're relying on that you're going to see Monday and Tuesday, Walker Buehler and German Marquez, both guys are just, to quote like Kevin Towers, like those were fines from dumpster diving. You're hoping they can get back into form. That you're counting in Ruben Niebla to solve all the Padres pitching woes by turning maybe guys into something feasible. And that to me is a pretty big gamble.
Well, the good thing about baseball, as everybody knows, it's a long season, and sometimes it takes a while. This sport, it requires, it takes time to arrive at conclusions. So we won't know anything about Nick Pivetta in one start, in two starts. We won't know anything, I'm sure, for several weeks, if not for several months. All right, that's initial reactions to opening day. We're going to come back. We're going to get you some news, some updates. Joe Musgrove spoke inside of the Padres clubhouse. AJ Preller spoke about Yu Darvish going on the restricted list. So all that coming up. Stick around, Friar Territory here, part of the Foul Territory Network.
Hey, have you hit the age where everything feels a little bit more difficult? The gym, yes, but everything, like energy crashes in the afternoon?
You might have been reading about low T and you see your doctor about it and they want to give you basically shots every week for the rest of your life. Oh, cool. That sounds fun. And then you dig deeper and you realize what you're signing up for, and it's $3,000 a year to shut down your body's natural production forever. That is brutal.
Mars Men gives you the same benefits of optimized testosterone, energy, strength, focus, without shutting your body down. No synthetics, no needles, no dependencies. It's like hitting the reset button on your hormone factory instead of shutting it down.
For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
All right. To Friar Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. Darren Smith, Marty, Caswell with you. I do have one hot take, Marty, before we move on. I did solicit some hot takes from some of the Padre fans, and I did not fact check this, so it's probably irresponsible for me to even bring this up. But
throw it out there.
Pena, who's been a longtime listener of ours, says the Padres have never made the postseason when losing the home opener in San Diego in the same season. I didn't realize that.
Are you sure? That
he
can't
did
be right.
say it that way, and he did clarify, indicating that he's done some research. He said because the Padres have started the season in other places where they were the home team, like 2023 in Korea, where they won the first game as the home team, but they've never lost the home opener in San Diego, the season opener, opening day in San Diego, and went on to the postseason. So they will have to buck that incredibly handcuffing trend, Marty, if they're going to find some success here in 2026.
That's some heavy.
Is just working against them.
That's some heavy history, and I will have to check the Padres put out their notes, right? The PR department puts out the notes. I need to go ahead and jump into those notes and see if that is actually listed. That did you know?
I didn't fact check that. So go find Alex Pena. Any silver linings for? I mean, I feel sort of stupid bringing up silver linings. I mean, Listen, with all due respect, I like Xander Bogaerts. I'm rooting for Xander Bogaerts, but it's year number 4. You'll forgive me if I'm not all that impressed with his exit velocity. I understand the importance of exit velocity. We've all seen the Instagram clip about what happens when you hit the ball more than 95 miles per hour. So we all understand it. It's great. Hopefully this continues, but it's opening day. I would, if you're forcing me, and you're not, I would say Bradley Rodriguez, though.
Yes.
I would say out of the bullpen, that guy, 6 up, 6 down, 3 punch outs. Wow. Okay, like I liked that. I would say that is in a situation where I'm forcing myself to give you a silver lining after opening day. That would be the one for me.
That would be the one for me. And we've spent so much time, Darren, again, on this platform talking about the Padres' depth, about their bullpen, right? And you have guys like Jason Adams is going to be pitching in a rehab assignment this weekend, but they are in a position of strength when it comes to their bullpen. So when you're talking about the idea of whether signing a pitcher, whether it's Lucas Giolito or trading for somebody, when it comes to their bullpen, they have some very attractive pieces that they could trade to bring in other arms. And when you have a depth guy like Rodriguez, how he fits the back end of that bullpen, man, they have some pretty decent trade commodities. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I like that. And I even like what Craig Stammen had to say afterwards, which is, like guys have to be professionals when we find ourselves in this situation. Nobody wants to come into a game where you're trailing 8-0, where you're down 8-2, you're down 6 runs, but you do have to be a professional, and you do have to learn to accept some of these roles until you're asked to do something different. And I thought he was really, really good. 7 swings and misses yesterday. So the hype around him, for what it's worth, I think is well deserved. So we'll see what it looks like heading into number 2 and into number 3, and then the Padres will be off. And then the Padres, listen, they're going to face some aces here. That's just the way the schedule unfolds. You're going to see some number 1 starters. I think they're lined up to see Skeens when they go to Pittsburgh. So
for the first time they're facing him.
I mean, how you perform against some of these big name pitchers, I think is noteworthy, especially if you want to get to where we think the Padres want to get to. But yes, I know. I saw the exit velocity with Xander. I was like, God, we're in season number 4. This guy's made $75 million, and we're treating him like a prospect. But hopefully it continues. Marty, there was a little bit of news yesterday. And, and I do think that the news on opening day, let's start with Joe Musgrove, because he was available and he spoke, and he's a big piece of this puzzle. You cannot, even as we're going to get set to talk about some of the payroll and maybe some of the flexibility or the perceived flexibility with Yu Darvish going on the restricted list, which means he's not going to be getting paid his salary for 2026. Joe Musgrove did speak yesterday. And he was asked about this process, about essentially being shut down by the Padres and letting his elbow cool off for a little while, and seeing when it is that will he threw at Petco Park, which I suppose is good news. Hopefully there will be some updates over the weekend on that, but interesting stuff to listen to Joe Musgrove yesterday.
Yes. Do you want to go ahead and hear what he had to say yesterday? I'm not sure if I asked him a leading question. He did play catch at Petco Park, but again, Darren, he pitched for that first time right March 4th against Green Bay. Was it Green Bay? Green Bay. Great Britain. You can see why I get Green Bay and Great Britain confused. I have no idea why I just did that, but he's been pretty much shut down ever since. This is what Joe Musgrove, an excerpt of what he had to say yesterday in pregame. In your mind, this is not a setback in any way. This is pretty much what you expected.
I mean, yeah, it's a setback, I guess, because I looked at coming into camp and breaking with the team and being ready opening day. I was very aware of the possibility of this being an option. Was just hoping not to face it, and physically how I felt, it became more of a realistic thing, as spring went on. And again, I was just kind of holding on to hope that, one day I would break through and feel better, and just never came. So this is, it's not a shock to me. Obviously, I didn't want it to go this way, but I'm ready for it mentally and physically.
All right. Well, Marty tried to put some words in Joe Musgrove's mouth there, who had previously said right before that clip started, it's a setback. And you're like, so it's not a setback. And he's like, well, it is a setback, but...
Well, yes and no.
I suppose we can get wrapped up into the language here, Marty, but I don't, I just don't think that this was like the plan was to pitch him once in the Cactus League and then put him on the shelf for another month. But, it's also not about today. It's not about today. It's about the end of the year.
Right, you're exactly right. And he did say, when we spoke to him here on Friar territory, he did say that he thought, I think he thought at that time that he'd be ready sooner rather than later. Maybe he wouldn't start opening day. Maybe he would miss the first series, but that he would be available and on the active roster. But there was an idea that you might pitch 4 innings, and maybe you skip a start, and you could work in the off days. But so when I say setback, I think he was expecting to be back by now. And we're at a point now where it's still wait and see, and there really is no timetable. But as far as setback, is there damage? And he mentioned he had an MRI and everything's good. But I just think that for him, it's about the long game. It's important because we're talking about the pressure on Nick Pivetta. We're talking about the pressure that comes after Michael King and Vasquez, and the fact that Padres, they're going to need Musgrove sooner rather than later. But it's, as far as it not being a setback, it's not a situation where it was like Michael King last year, where we were waiting for him to come back until August, September, and waiting for Yu Darvish to come back, and then he really never did. So when I say it's not really a setback, I guess I'm thinking more in terms of Joe Musgrove expects a pitch this year, and I don't think that it's going to be September. Right. I think he believes he'll be back in a few months.
Right.
Not to put words in his mouth, which I just did.
Right, but he said it was a setback. So, I mean, that's all I'm saying. Is
it a setback?
It's not a setback. It's not a setback for anybody that's predicting that his career is over.
Right.
It's not right, because there is a little bit of that like fatalism out there. There is a little bit of that, oh no, this is never going to happen. He's never going to return. And I don't think that's accurate. So, I mean, I will say, though, even what Joe Musgrove had to say, Marty, while he was talking to you and others inside of the Padre clubhouse, he did say there was no timeline. Now, the good news is he did have an MRI just to make sure. Although, interesting, he said he didn't want to look at it. He let other people look at it. He's like, I don't want to see what's going on in there. Like, have you seen a surgically repaired elbow? It's kind of a mess. That was an interesting little bit of insight from Joe Musgrove, who's always so open and honest, which is, I think, what makes him one of our favorites here.
Yes.
Is because he's willing to discuss, some of this stuff, which would be much easier to be like, yeah, what do you, beat it. I don't have to make myself available to you people at all. But he does. And he shows a little bit of vulnerability, which I think is appreciated here, even if it's unusual based on what it is that he does. That said, I mean, there's no timeline for Musgrove yet. And, hopefully this is something, I believe that he is a solutions-oriented person, just as a human being, not even just as a pitcher, whether he's been a relief pitcher or a starting pitcher. He's always struck me as somebody who's solutions-oriented. So I am going to trust that Joe Musgrove will find a solution for whatever it is that's holding him back currently. And I expect at some point here, whether it's April or whether it's May, Marty, I do expect that we will see Joe Musgrove hopefully here before too long, so that the Padres rotation can look like what we all thought it would be.
The Padres could think that Joe Musgrove is coming back next month, and they still need to add starting pitching. Again, I know we don't want to overreact, but I even think before opening day, before Nick Pivetta's first start, it was clear the Padres needed to add starting pitching. I just think that right now, with all the news that came out yesterday, it's been absolutely magnified, because Joe Musgrove can come back. But again, what we heard from Walker Buehler, it took him 2 years to feel pain-free until he felt that he was in the right place. There's an awful lot at stake with this group of players for this season. They have got to add starting pitching. That's just the number one thing that was magnified to me from opening day.
Where are you going to find it? I mean, it's March 27th, Marty. Where are you going to get it, and how are you going to get it?
Trade. Not sure yet who, though. What do the Rockies have? What do the Marlins have left? What do the Marlins have to offer? Better question. What do the Padres have to give?
Well, this will only get louder, by the way. Michael King, who allowed 9 home runs in Cactus League play, will only get louder if we don't see the best version of him coming up on Friday night. Well, speaking of possibilities, we do have a little bit of clarity about Yu Darvish. Padres general manager, president of baseball operations, AJ Preller, spoke before the game on Thursday, and we'll hear what AJ had to say about Yu Darvish when we come back to Friar Territory. Well, I've already talked about my experience using SeatGeek when the NCAA tournament was in town, but we've just had opening day. The tournament continues, and I don't mind telling you, Marty, I am monitoring this app almost every hour. Just in case my team advances, I want to see what the tickets are going to be like in any potential destination. But SeatGeek is there for me, just like they're there for all of our listeners.
Darren, it's the #1 ticketing app with over 35 million downloads, and over 70,000 events are listed. Maybe you want to watch Walker Buehler make his Padres debut on Monday. Maybe you want to watch Pink perform at Petco Park in May. There is only one place to go, and that is SeatGeek.
Like I said, I mean, I'm monitoring these ticket prices. They're going up, they're going down. When do I want to act? Here's the deal. Whatever event it is that you guys want to go to, SeatGeek is the app. Download it today. We have a code for you guys. Use the code Territory10, 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets. Promo code Territory10. Make sure to click the link in the description. Download the app. Have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. All right. Hopefully I'll be using that SeatGeek app coming up on Sunday or maybe next Saturday and maybe next Monday. I don't know. We'll see. Welcome back, Friar Territory. Don't forget, you can also go to friarterritoryshop.com if you want to support us. You can go take a look through our store there, and you can pick out some good gear, and you can rock it around Petco Park all summer long. Does everybody know what I was talking about with the exit velocity, by the way? I started thinking about that. Maybe not everybody has seen that Instagram video that explains that if you hit the ball 95 miles per hour or harder, Marty, your chances of getting a hit, of slugging, of hitting home runs jump up exponentially. And why it's noteworthy, I suppose, for Xander Bogaerts is because he's not been great in this category. As a matter of fact, I think in 2025, he was like 110th ranked exit velocity. So he didn't have a lot of extra base hits. That's why he had 11 home runs for a guy that you think is going to hit at least 20.
Right.
Was not known for hitting the ball hard, only did it 39% of the time. So for a day, you go, well, wow, maybe that's encouraging. Maybe something's clicking with him where he's hitting the ball hard. Again, it's season number 4. This guy's made $75 million so far with the Padres. Like, I think people don't really want to focus on that stuff. They want to see some results. But anyhow, you can go do all that research. It's really actually kind of interesting how important the exit velocity is. Anyhow, some more news from opening day, Marty, came from AJ Preller, president of baseball operations. There's been some reporting, and following the reporting, there's been questions about what the future is for Yu Darvish. And it was expected across the board that Yu Darvish in some capacity was going to be unavailable in 2026 to pitch. But the questions were also what's going to happen with the amount of money that he was owed. And widely reported and expected that he would, in some capacity, forfeit his salary in 2026. That was confirmed when the opening day roster came out on Wednesday, and Yu Darvish was on the restricted list, which means that he is not going to be getting paid at all in 2026. He has not been released. He has not been retired, and AJ Preller talked a little bit about this on opening day.
Obviously, he's had an incredible, it's an incredible run, throughout Japan, here in the States, MLB. And for him, I think just a lot of respect for what he's looking to do. I think he's been very clear that if he can't, do things at the level from a preparation standpoint, a work standpoint, that he's used to doing, he wants to make sure that he's not, he's giving back to the team, and the fan base and everything like that. So, he's a very unique player. We worked with the union with Major League Baseball, but from his standpoint, the restricted list is where you place players that they're not looking to come every single day to the ballpark and go from there. He's leaving open what it means and what it means for the future, but I think for him it's an opportunity to rehab at his own pace, do things at his own pace, spend time with his family, which is very important to him, and we'll see where it leads us down the road.
All right, so essentially what AJ Preller is saying, and he does, I think in the beginning, whether it's intentional or unintentional, he does speak about Yu Darvish's career kind of in the past tense, although that's probably premature. And the second part is, if you're going to get paid, you have to rehabilitate based on what it is that the team wants you to do and how it is that the team wants you to do it. And Yu Darvish has essentially said, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. I don't know if he's doing this because he just wants to give back to the organization, or if he just doesn't want to rehab like a Major League Baseball player, somebody who's gone through something similar in his career. But either way, he has decided he is going to forfeit his salary for 2026 so that he can just heal and operate on his own timeline and do what he wants to do without having to show up at the ballpark based on some schedule from a team surgeon or some team doctors. And good for him if that's where he is in his life.
He knows the grind that it's going to take to go ahead and rehab as though he were going to try and pitch again. I mean, a daily grind, really, really intensive. And he wants, again, as you mentioned, he wants to do it on his own terms. What's important to him, I think he has 7 kids, and I think like 6 boys and 1 daughter, right? And his oldest, Shohei Darvish, is pitching over at UCSD. He wants to be around his family. He wants to be able to play catch with his kids pain-free. So perhaps when you're thinking about rehabbing, you're just maybe rehabbing just so you can do the simple things in life with your kids. Throw a baseball and not have that pain. It was interesting because, I know Preller was asked about what does this mean? Can he be around the team? Blah, blah, blah. And he really can't. You're not going to see him like in the dugout during games. Maybe we've heard about him mentoring Randy Vasquez. Can be around the team, yes, early on, but not in the capacity that he was where he's sitting with the guys in the bullpen or hanging out in the dugout. When I walked in that clubhouse yesterday, and you're always trying to figure out, okay, where are the new guys at? Yu Darvish's locker was still there. Everything, all his stuff is still there. It hasn't been cleaned out. So at that time, I wasn't sure what we were going to hear from AJ Preller, but I thought it was really interesting that everything that Darvish has, personal effects, all his gear was there as though he would be returning imminently. But maybe it's more symbolic that they have his things there, but. And I know Preller was asked, what does this mean as far as payroll? That money's been spent. I mean, he made it clear that this has been an ongoing conversation with Yu Darvish about his future for months. So when Michael King signed, and when Michael King said that Yu Darvish sat in on the meetings with him and his agent and AJ Preller, and Yu Darvish got him extra dollars, you can pretty much understand that they knew, the players knew at that time. Joe Musgrove made the same comment about, wow, how selfless Yu Darvish is. The players knew he wasn't coming back, that he was going to probably walk away from quite a bit of money. The Padres knew. And I think it's remarkable. I don't know how many people would walk away from crazy money like that, but Yu Darvish is.
Yeah, I would not. And
Neither would
I don't think anybody should ever be expected to, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I respect the decision that Yu Darvish has made because, again, I can understand. Like, he's like, I'm 40 years old. I don't want to be rehabbing like a big league baseball player, like where there's no guarantee that I'm ever going to return anyway. So, like, I respect that. But from that standpoint, Marty, I don't think anybody should ever be expected. Like, I don't think it should be held against any other player in the future.
Right.
Because now, right, like you're sort of seeing some of the commentary about like Musgrove and some of these other guys. And like, that's totally unfair.
No.
This is so unique. This is only because Yu Darvish is at a point in his career where in his mind and based on his family and things that he's gone through over the last couple of years, that this makes sense. But to your point, I do think it's interesting because a lot of people think now this just frees up $15 million and go get Giolito or go get somebody else. And like you said, Yu Darvish, metaphorically speaking, he died so that they could, so that Michael King could pitch. So, even more even more pressure on Michael King tonight. Like, hey, Darvish gave up all this money. You're just not making your $18 million this year. But this was also Darvish forfeiting his money, man. So like, don't mess this up, King. Like, we're counting on you here. People have made great sacrifices for you to be a Padre in 2026.
See, now you're providing me a line of questioning for Michael King postgame, Darren.
Did you let Yu Darvish down? Like,
yes.
Every bad outing, do you feel like you let Yu Darvish down?
Did you feel the weight of the dollars that Darvish gave up for you to go ahead and deliver tonight?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that seems like it's part of it, right? So again, maybe they have a couple of extra bucks lying around that they can go add some piece, but in terms of now having that entire salary to go ahead and spend, Marty, it feels like, it feels like there's a couple of seasons in 2026, right? Like there's the 162 games of the season that everybody knows, but it also feels like, what kind of position is this team going to be in at the trade deadline with a new owner coming in and some of these names? These are private equity guys. You know how private equity guys roll. They usually look and they're thinking about maximizing profitability and asset allocation. And is Pivetta a pitcher who's going to be here at the end of the year if things don't go well over the first couple of months? Same thing for a guy like Morejon. So anyhow, I think it's interesting that there's the overarching plot of the season, but there's also a couple of subplots here for some of these guys and what their futures might look like based on performance for the first 3-4 months of the baseball season.
Did you say could Pivetta be here? He can opt in to 2 more years after this year, correct?
Yeah, but he could also opt out if he sees a big payday out there on the road, or the Padres could look at him and say, hey, listen, we feel like this guy's more likely to opt out.
Right.
Because that's mostly what pitchers do if they have some level of success and he remains healthy. He doesn't have to be a 2.7 ERA guy. I mean, he could be in the 3s and think, well, I've got a pretty good future out there on the open market where I can make more money than it is that I'm guaranteed to make here if I opt in, right? Michael King opted out of a contract. So, these things happen. And if you feel like that's a situation that is approaching and you go, well, maybe I should cash in on this guy and go get a couple of pitchers from some organization someplace. Who knows? Probably premature for us to discuss that stuff. But it does feel like that, like this season is broken down into 2 parts. How successful are you going to be up into the trade deadline? And then what are you going to do at the trade deadline? And, oh, by the way, factor in a new owner whose personality we don't know anything about.
How quickly can you, also, when the new owner does come in, how quickly are you allowed to go ahead? Can you spend money? How quickly? I mean, you want to make a splash, right? If you're the new owner, you want to go ahead and make a splash. You want to go ahead and show your absolute investment into the product, team that you're buying, the city that you're being a part of. And what better way than to go ahead and say, all right, here's a couple million, AJ. Go do something. Go ahead and arm.
Or you spent $3.2 billion and you're going into a lockout and you're like, hey, I've got my own set of nerds around here that think that that money hasn't been allocated in the right places. So, let's figure out a way to make this a little bit more financially responsible, right? Like it's a great unknown. Like none of us really know what to expect. I mean, we're just learning about some of these people based on Wikipedia accounts.
Right. I try to keep.
A new name even added earlier this week.
Opening day is always hectic, but I was trying to keep my eyes peeled to see if any of them were walking around Petco Park. Because why would you not want to go ahead and take in all the majesty of opening day and just see, this, hey.
Joe Lacob was at the NCAA tournament in San Jose.
Oh, really?
With Steve Kerr, yes. They were watching the University of Arizona. I wonder if he got his tickets on SeatGeek.
Of course.
Yeah.
Where else?
Joe Lacob
where else would you
guy.
get them? Yeah, he knows.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Joe Lacob probably has to, following, his successful career. That guy knows where to find a good deal.
He has the app.
Yeah. Marty, would you object at all as we wrap this up? Would you object at all to a Padres owner who has some sort of ownership ties to the Los Angeles Chargers?
Yes. Yes, I would. Especially when you have 27%. I'm down. Please, anybody but him. It can't be him. I can't. Know your fan base. You got to know your fan base. You have to know your fan base. You can't.
Who are you talking to?
The 27th, Gore. Is that his name? I'm sorry. You're muted.
In front of me, but yes, something like that. Gore
I object. I know nothing about him. I object vehemently.
Yes. Okay.
Zero
Any
ties.
affiliation with the Los Angeles Chargers for you is disqualified.
You are thoroughly 100% disqualified. And if you're the Padres, you don't want to make that guy available to the media to take questions from people like me, which is a separate conversation. But you don't want to make him available to how can you invest in San Diego and invest in Los Angeles? Don't you know how much they hate each other? Besides, don't the Chargers congratulate the Dodgers and this and that when, hey, good luck? No, non-factor, disqualified.
So the lesser of two evils is the guy that represents the Bay Area, Joe Lacob.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
It's like
Very
its own
confusing times.
It's a different. Northern California really isn't part of California. It should be its own state. No, I mean it is. They should just form. They should secede and form their own.
Now this is an interesting geography discussion that we probably shouldn't get into. But do you consider the Bay Area Northern California or more Central California?
Northern.
Okay. So what do you consider Eureka? That's Oregon, right?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, Sacramento.
We should
All
just
right. Anyhow,
3 states.
Yes, we have definitely taken a turn towards nonsense. All right.
But I'm saying no on owner number 4.
No.
Done.
Swiping whatever direction it is that you're saying is the direction that you get rid of somebody.
I'd rather have Jeff Morad. No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry.
Wow, what a question that is. Would you rather have Jeff Morad back as the owner of the Padres or this dude who's affiliated with the LA Chargers?
Absolutely not.
And the Detroit Pistons, by the way. He's also the Pistons owner.
You have to. If he wants to be approved, he has to sell his stake in the Chargers.
We should probably identify this person. We're both drawing a blank on his name, and I don't remember his name.
It's going to be him.
I feel bad about that.
It's going to be him.
I don't know, Marty. I just I don't know. I wish I knew. His name is Tom Gores, Gores. For anybody that wants to look that up. Sorry, I could not have finished the show without making sure everybody knew who that name was. Who Marty was rambling on about, who Marty is terrified of, in case he happens to become the owner of the San Diego Padres. All right, thank you, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. And Michael King, we are all counting on you, man. We are all counting on you. And this is as must-win game for day number 2 of the baseball season as ever existed here in San Diego. So it's all on your right shoulder, fella, and we're looking forward to you having a big performance against the Detroit Tigers. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Don't forget, again, subscribe, Friar Territory. You can find it on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, give us good reviews. For Marty Caswell, I'm Darren Smith. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next time right here.